In this video, I will tell you the exact three important things I learned in my 20s that I wish I learned earlier. This probe into personal limitations, mindset, specific life approach, and leveraging. It is much must lesson, and so go with me to the end, fellas. Topic 1: Growth Mindset. Get out of your comfort zone. That's what they tell you. You've heard of that phrase again and again. And the first thing that changed how I approach my life is by adapting a growth mindset. It's similar to what they say about getting out of a comfort zone. If you are a very introverted person like me, who might also have some social anxiety, you are likely to limit yourself to introverted stuff, to your comfort zone. And in my experience, I had made an identity around that personality trait that limited me. For example, I avoided many social interactions. I avoided the dreaded public speaking, and at worst, I flunked some of my college subjects because of it, and I participated little, which affected my grades and skills development. And when you create an identity, it can either limit or make you grow as a person. If I continued with my if I continued with my limited mindset, I wouldn't have tried to improve my skills. I wouldn't have tried public speaking. I wouldn't have even tried doing YouTube like this. And sometimes each of us needs a little nudge to get out of our comfort zone. And experiences such as attending the university and emotions such as trying to be significant and prove the naysayers otherwise do help. If it wasn't clear, the first thing that I've learned in my 20s that I wish that I should have learned earlier is having a growth mindset. It's not simply about raw talent or innate ability that you are born with. I now believe that the talent can be developed through experiencing it, failing from it, and then learning from it, and then getting feedback, and then improving because of those experiences. I mean, nothing is fixed, right? Maybe except a few scientific stuff. So, if you don't know how to do public speaking, you can learn it. If you don't know how to make videos, you can start and develop your skills along the way. It's what I'm trying to do. Not only will a growth mindset help you improve, but it also helps handle temporary failures or adversities. That that way it kinds of helps with our lives and thinking, and it's like having a positive mindset. So it also helps us think of possibilities. As the saying goes, you are not a tree and you can be unstuck from the same spot you are in now if you want to. Well, trees can actually now be transferred home with a huge machine and then pull out and then transfer to another place. Okay, even trees can be unstuck. How much more is human? It's one thing to think that you can never do it, and it's another to think that you can learn to do it despite the difficulty. So For this first lesson, I want you to comment an example of your limiting belief below. Share with us what you can do about it. Also, if you have overcome a limiting belief in the past, share with us your experience on how you did it. Share your experience. Sharing your experience is a simple yet big contribution to the readers and to my channel as well, as YouTube will more likely promote this video to other users. Topic 2: Intentional Improvement. After having a growth mindset, the next thing I learned in my 20s that I wish I learned earlier is to have intentional improvement. If you have a specific goal, you have a specific direction you can strive towards. In my case, I wanted to invest in the stock market, and that was year 2018. So and then I just keep reading books and articles about it. But just knowing is not enough. No one can really know anything, everything. No one can really know everything. Thus, I enrolled in an account with a stockbroker and started investing in stocks. If I waited till I learned everything, then I wouldn't have gotten started doing it. I mean, no one can really know everything. And I wouldn't have lost some investments, but I wouldn't also have earned more than double in some. So there are also the beautiful dividends that I receive regularly. But if you invest in stocks, learn how others do it. Model someone. Research what others recommend. Have an intentional improvement by seeing proven paths that others did and see whether it applies to your current situation. So, for example, with my experience, no, when I started, it was year 2018, and then by 2020, we experienced the pandemic and the stock market drop. Yeah, drastically at that. So one thing that I recommend before you start investing is to first build an emergency fund worth 3 to 6 months at least, so that you will likely only invest what you can afford to lose. Okay, that comes from my experience during the pandemic when the stock market dropped. Another example would be public speaking. A good start would be searching on the web on how to improve it. There are wide variety of information on the web, and this can include learning as and say for example you see one article, and the suggestions or recommendations should be include I will include learning a specific set of skills. Okay, and this can also include attending classes like Toastmasters. Well, aside from that, if you want to learn Spanish, Mandarin, Hindi, Korean, or other languages, search on the web also, and they'll have recommendations such as a language app, attending a class, and immersing yourself in the culture by going to that specific country. And sometimes there may not be a proven path. Maybe you are doing something new. Maybe the path that others recommend is just too expensive to do, or maybe it's just way too outdated, or maybe you are just afraid of doing them. And this can include fear of failure, and fear of what others will say. And so, if you are young and that you are in your teens or your 20s and are already interested in a particular improvement you want in your life, but are afraid, just fucking jump, try it, do calculated risk. That's what I tell myself at my current age, and that's what I wanted to tell my younger self as well, if I can. I am young, I'm not yet in my 30s, so there are no big consequences. I don't have children to feed, and most consequences in my life are mostly short to medium term. They will not matter 5 years from now on, I bet. So if I was a college student again, I would participate more in classes and develop public speaking skills. I would also take notes using Notion to keep a documentation of my life as well. And as a student, there are really no risk. I'm not doing any corporate reports. I'm not on a board meeting. I'm not a president whose speech will have a significant consequences. If I fail, I can relatively easily get back up, lick my wounds, and learn from my failure, get feedback, and find ways to improve. It's okay to just jump and do it as long as it's not life threatening. Yeah, as long as it's not life threatening, as long as I'm not breaking any law, and as long as I'm not stepping on another person. Yeah, I can do it as long as those three that I've said are present. Again, this is based on my own reflection, my experiences, and my regrets. Take it with a grain of salt and apply what you think applies to you. Remember, have a growth mindset and be more open minded about it. Parachutes only float when it's open. Yeah. I forgot who said about it. I think it was Paulo Coelho, if I remembered it right. So for this section, I want you to comment below one skill that you want to improve and share why you want to improve that skill. Cut. Topic 3. Play with your strengths. You may not believe it as you see me in this video, but I am terrible at speaking and socializing. I'm an introvert. I rarely speak in gatherings and I prefer to listen. But okay, but I remind you that introversion is not a weakness. It is a trait that has its own pros and cons. And because of my introversion and shyness, I rarely get exposed to various social settings where I am proactive compared to more extroverted people. Thus, I don't consider uh, public speaking and socializing or interacting with others as one of my strengths. Okay, I don't consider it as one of my strengths. So in the past, when I was still in high school, when I was still playing chess seriously, I remember that I prefer bishops over horses or knights. So whenever I play with friends, I try to keep my bishops so I can leverage my preference. If the opponent prefers the horses, I try to take his horses if possible. So the point is we have a set of preferences and strengths, and that can be unique to the person. So I play better with white, and I play and other people would play better with black chess pieces. So the next lesson that I learned in my 20s that I mostly applied in chess but not in life in general, which I started to apply now, is to play with your strengths. So if you're in a war, you don't want to compete with your opponent using your weaknesses when that area is your opponent's strengths, right? So in my case, despite being an introverted person, I try to develop some socializing skills and public speaking skills, and that includes reading books and watching YouTube videos on how to do it. But I don't think they will be the main assets or strengths that I have because it is not very natural for me. So I believe myself to be a strategic thinker, and yeah, I can be analytic, and though yeah, I can also be very hardworking if I am interested. I am also now learning to delegate tasks better as well. So I am also a very curious person, evident in the wide array of subjects that I read, and yeah, I consider myself to be a good writer, relatively compared to being a speaker. Okay, so what I want to say is accept your weakness, improve on them, and have at least some average level of skill on those weaknesses. I mean, that's like expanding outside your comfort zone, okay? But use your strengths and leverage them. That's I would tell myself now. That's what I would tell my younger self. I mean, I'm not perfect. No one is. And now I'm still improving on how I can better leverage my strengths. And at the same time, I am still growing, and new strengths will also come into play in the future. That so yeah, the new strengths that will be in the future are new stuff that I can hopefully leverage soon. So in this section, I want you to take a free MBTI test to increase your self-awareness so that you can better identify your strengths. If you can, I highly recommend Jordan Peterson's Big Five personality test. But it's not free. But there are lots of free MBTI personality tests. Take it and comment below your results. And today, I told you about growth mindset, intentional improvement, and playing with your strengths. No, I am. If you are still here, if you, yeah, I am very happy that you are here with me until the end. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. As a benchmark from Stephen Graham, smash the subscribe button now. Again, share your experience of a limiting belief. Comment what skill you want to improve and why. And take that MBTI personality test to identify your natural strengths and share it below. So I'm interested in reading your insights, and I believe other viewers are also interested in your insights. So yes, see ya on the next videos, fellas, and see ya on the comment section below. Bye bye.